Hi, John. Thanks for coming on to the podcast today to talk about, I think, one of the main topics that has come up on this podcast over the last year and a half with, obviously the explosion of ChatGPT and everybody's focus on AI. So great to have another guest talking about AI, but we're going to now mix in kind of journalism, which we talked about before the recording has only been brought up on the podcast once or twice. So great to have you on here to talk about these two um, I guess, industries or these two worlds and how they're blending together.
Um, I'm thrilled to be here to discuss how our AI avatars are revolutionizing journalism and enhancing, not replacing, as I would say, the role of humans in journalism.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, uh, could you start us off with, I don't know if you have like a story or like a reason on how you got interested in journalism and AI? I think there's more and more discussion about how these things are interlinked, but just for the audience to kind of get a sense of what brought you into this realm of work.
I really think I was in a very typical path. Like, started off as a business development in a hardware environment where I kind of experienced this and that and wanted to shift towards software, which my first experience with software was augmented reality, where like using cameras, showing this and that. And while I was working with it, I also learned about DeepBrain AI, where they do avatars. And the video that I saw of DeepBrain AI was video that they created as an avatar of a former president of Korea. And then I just couldn't distinguish it if it's real or not. And I mean, it looked amazing. I thought that that's my next go-to place, and here I am. I'm now leading the market.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think uh the speed at which these deep fakes or these avatars have been improving in quality has been I guess both staggering but also like not shocking, right? Like if we're always thinking about the exponential growth of technology, it's kind of assumed that these avatars are going to get better and better and better. But even when they do, and when you see them to the quality that they are now, um, it's still it is shocking to a certain extent. And whether people can tell whether they're real or not, there might be some people with a good eye right now, but I'm sure in a couple of years you're not going to be able to tell the difference. Um, so why don't we start off with like what you guys are doing? Typically, we get into that a little bit later, but I think it's a very interesting starting point, and how deep brain AI's avatars are kind of impacting journalism. It's very very interesting to hear about.
Just a highlight summary would be like AI avatars are powerful tools, and in this effort, we offer unique solutions that streamline news production while maintaining the invaluable expertise and storytelling of human reporters. That's like the executive summary that I would say. But basically, what I would say is it makes your life easier. You don't always have to be in front of a camera if you have a pre-scripted script that um, all news corporations like work on. Like, it's basically the newsroom workflow. Um, you can generate new videos, you can edit existing videos, and I'll talk about this later on as well. But basically, in any languages you want. Um, you did talk about some uncanny valley like few years ago. Now, definitely that stage has passed. And as you mentioned, it's amazing to learn how, like, it's not like step by step improvement that we're getting with AI, especially. It's like a breakthrough. And then with that breakthrough, we try to deliver different problem solutions to help people. And then we work on that for a while, and then we get another breakthrough. And basically, one of the recent biggest impact basically is ChatGPT, like everyone knows. And with that, um, we're providing automated scripts, generative AI contents, not just scripts with videos, images, like voiceovers. Like, there's many things that we're working with, collaborating with. It's an interesting space.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like I can imagine that the deep fakes of the past, well, as you kind of said, they had the script. So you would or these sorry, the avatars of the past would have a script. So it would only really be able to read out what you kind of had pre-programmed into it. But now with the advent of, connecting GPT-4 or, these new models that are coming out with some of these avatars, it can be a much more, should we say, like organic or natural, well, natural language is the perfect term to use here.
I say, yeah, well, natural language is basically what it is. And yeah, it's helping many video create, not just in journalism, but video content creators get like an idea of how to create better, high quality videos.
Yeah. So could you give us maybe a little bit more of a tangible description or vision here of what's actually happening? So you have a journalist say on camera reporting stories at, I don't know, 5 6 p.m. kind of every single day, and now you have an avatar of that person, of that journalist, that can give more stories, like more description of what's going on at a little bit more of a, um what was the term that you used? Like kind of an updated kind of live uh description of
Breaking news.
stories. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think for listeners who don't know what we're talking on, I would like briefly introduce what DeepBrain AI does. Basically, DeepBrain AI specializes in AI avatars, and these AI avatars are real human-like figures, digital figures. Basically, you can call it as a digital replica of one person. And the ability of this is if you feed them scripts, they read it as if they're speaking it. So it's a digital presenter of myself or a certain figure. And we have implied this into broadcasting environments, journalism environments. And um, I did prepare three of the real world applications that we have. We've already seen AI avatars make significant impact in newsrooms. To start with is MBN's Kim Joo-ha. Um, MBN is a broadcasting company, a news corporation in South Korea. MBN's anchor Kim delivers the primetime news herself, while Avatar handles quick updates and teasers on social media platforms. So this seamless balance between human and AI ensures high efficiency without sacrificing the personal touch of the traditional journalism. So, primetime news, we have the real person with the reputation, with the
Mhm.
trustworthy appearance, face, everything, deliver primetime news, but also that same figure, it is AI generated. And don't get me wrong, we do specify it's AI Kim version, um, delivers the teasers and quick updates through their different platform. So this is where we like always try to say it's enhancing, it's not replacing real human.
Right.
Similar case we have is Fox 26 Houston. Mm, Fox 26 has adopted our AI avatars to create an AI correspondent. That's what they called it, that delivers weekly news summaries on for their website. So it's allowing continuous updates without increasing the workload of their human team. Again, we're trying to empower, enhance, not replace. But if you think about it, news corporations, newsrooms, they have a lot of scripted items that's not aired on their, not just primetime news, but their broadcasting time. 'Cause there's just
Mm,
too many news.
mm,
But it's effort, like reporters go out, research, create the reports, get it approved. It's just killed too because there's not enough time. But nowadays, there's so many different platforms that we can deliver information. And like with avatars, it's not just on their homepage, but social media. Like, yeah, we can put it anywhere. And thirdly, it's more of a general, broader term, but AI News is a weekly newsletter company. And along with several outlets are utilizing personalized avatars. So before we were talking about studio avatars, which is a digital clone of this person. We bring them into our studios, like have them record, like read out sentences. This is a longer, more B2B professional customized avatars. Fox, on the other hand, used our library avatars. What the AI News is currently using their personalized custom avatars, which is basically within our AI Studios platform. It's a SaaS product that we have live. You go in, you upload or record using your webcam, like 20-second, 30-second video, and then we get a avatar of yourself. So that's what AI News is using. And they're using personalized AI avatars to enhance engagement through their newsletters. Normally, it's just text based or one to video in their newsletters, but having a personalized avatar increases the engagement of people who are the audience of the newsletters. So basically, integrating video content that makes the newsletter more dynamic and interactive.
Very interesting. Can we yeah, I mean there's a lot to unpack there. Can we drill down a little bit in this idea of enhancement of these journalists, right? So I know that you're focusing on not replacing these journalists. Were specifically from the first example, were these studio journalists doing the kind of quick trailers or teasers for the prime time before? Okay, so they were spending time doing shorts and probably getting a little
Of
selfie
course.
video and doing that stuff in order to promote the prime time. So in my mind, if this avatar is now doing that, they can then focus a lot more on crafting maybe a better narrative or improving certain lines for the prime time. So they're actually able to improve the quality of the work that they're doing for the most important thing, while all the promotional stuff is taken care of by this AI.
You're right on topic. Kim Joo-ha is one of the board member of MBN. So she's a very busy person. She's one of the most well-known news anchors in South
Mm,
Korea as well. So
mm,
she has a lot to do, but prequels or like teasers, we can't have her always on stage. So that was like time consuming
mm,
in a way, not as important to the prime time news. So it was always a dilemma. So they had to like schedule it out, like compact so that leverage time frame as much as possible. Whereas now we have her avatar, they are freely like there are points like everyone should know in newsrooms, there are times where we need to change scripts like instantly. New updates come in, but every time when that happens, we have to re-record was the traditional way of creating content. Whereas with this, easy editing, recreation. So that's where I'm trying to say it's enhancing.
yeah, no, totally get that. Was there any concern on her part that well, this avatar is going to get so good that it can just do my job if it's unrecognizable from a human, or that just never crossed her mind because she's one of the more popular ones? Like maybe you can tease that out, because I know that there's lots of people listening that are going to think this, right? And as I'm sure you've come across.
I think she was very confident. And there's a YouTube content where the real Kim Joo-ha is
Mm,
actually testing out the pronunciations of the AI. So they made this as a content. It's interesting. It's amusing. The real Kim, the famous Kim, actually like verifying if this AI could do as like what she's doing, and it was a fun experiment they did, which AI obviously did a wonderful job. That's why they're still using it. But I say it's I can proudly say she wasn't worried about it,
yeah.
and none should be because it's. We also like to say the avatars are a gateway to the outside world. It's just delivering your thoughts, your reports, It's not going to think in its own anyways. So
Right, right, right,
that's why enabler is a very nice word to describe what we have here.
right. Yeah, very interesting. Um, and for the amount of views, for instance, like the engagement of using this avatar, Kim's avatar, um, have you guys or are you aware of like the amount of views? Like I would assume that there would be an initial bump in the ratings, for instance, if this avatar Kim is doing all the promotion. Um, but maybe did that like go down after a while? Like after the initial interest came and went, was there like, oh, that's just an AI avatar Kim, so I'm only gonna watch the prime time? Like, do you have any data on that?
I will,
Out of pure
I can
curiosity.
say,
Yeah.
I can say that it's amazing to see there was not really of a big change. I would like to say there was a drastic change, but which would sound awkward as well because trying to replicate the real Kim
Sure.
and our AI Kim is doing a pretty job because it's not fluctuating or anything. They're just creating a little bit more content because they have more ability to create content using Kim, the AI version.
Mhm.
But that's what we say. We do lots of testings. We do group testings, and if we give a video where it's an avatar and a B video where it's a real person, we make them say the same thing and we showcase them. We do a lot of group testing. That's our core technology. So we get the point right. And it's interesting to find out that normally it's like almost half and half. Some days there's just a group of people who tend to lean on one thing, but if we like smooth it and average, make an average of it, it's very interesting to see that it's nearly 5 to 5 on what they pick is the avatar or the real human, meaning it's hard to distinguish.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah, that's very interesting. Because I'm sure a couple of years ago it was not that, right? Um, yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I've been with DeepBrain AI for 3.5 years now, and demo videos and actual live service, in especially in the tech industry, is there's many of the times there are gaps, and the avatars that I've been seeing 3 years ago, um, was performing as um good, and
Sure.
based on that, it's gradually improving. So nowadays, just like we do this for fun. Put two videos, try to guess, and then they're all excited. And they kind of divide it into half and half. And it's amazing to see how people really get confused. Hard it's like it indicates it's hard to distinguish. So technology is here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that brings up a bunch of other questions, especially for the future of all this. But I think before we get into that, um, I don't think we focused enough on the value of this real time um, ability to change the scripts in real time. Could you maybe elaborate on that a little bit more, like showcase the benefits for the audience? I mean, obviously, within a journalist kind of industry, as you mentioned before, things are changing all the time, very quickly. You know, you might have a source that changes their minds or says, "Oh, I lied" or something like that. So you need to change the story or part of the story immediately. Like how? Well, one, I guess, how beneficial is it, and two, how relevant is human interaction in those situations? Or can the kind of GPT system that's being utilized to feed um, these avatars make those changes kind of instantaneously?
Um, with newsrooms, it's not GPT that we're leveraging. It's the actual reports that reporters are creating. So it's not even AI generated script.
Mm,
It's
mm,
literally their reports that's like in previews or like maybe just a summary of something in a short form where the real anchor doesn't like need to participate. But basically, I would just have to elaborate the benefits that because it's very easy. This AI Studio, you go online, you have this whole SaaS platform with a dashboard and an editor. You choose your avatar. You will have a template that's already being used because you're a news company. You have certain formats that you need to follow. So upload background, select an avatar, input your script, and export. That's pretty much it. If you need to upload media sources or whatsoever, you can do that with an editor. But again, this being a broadcasting environment, many cases we just export the avatar green screen so that they can just take off the background, put it where they want. They do their own external editing. So that's that. But that's why I said I think it's better for us to concentrate a little bit on the benefit side of this because it says a lot of things. Basically, it's efficiency and the cost effectiveness is the biggest core benefit, I would say, the companies would be experiencing. So with AI avatars, once the avatar is created, it can be used to produce unlimited content, basically. And this eliminates the need for repeated filming and drastically cuts production costs and saves a lot of time. So you get the point.
Mm,
Once avatar is created, again, um, at the moment, outfit changes aren't possible. So we do have several versions of Kim created. Like if we're since we're just talking about MBN a lot, I
sure.
would just bring up that example. We created several versions of her to have her different outfits. So that's that needs to be created prior hands. But once you have that, you choose from the avatars, you upload a script and the export. That's how efficient it is to create video. And vers- it's always hard to pronounce this word. Versatility
Yep.
is another thing that I wanted to point out because our AI Studios platform can convert written scripts into, again, lifelike speech, um, mimicking the tone, the gesture, like everything of the human
Right.
presenter. So this makes the avatar perfect for delivering news across various platforms, from web summaries to social media updates. It's it's kind of repeated, but that's basically what it does, and it like streamlines a whole lot of process, and that's one of the reasons um, lots of our customers are using this. And that brings me to the last benefit, which is the global reach.
Mm,
Our AI anchors are already deployed in South Korea, China, and the US. And in November, we'll be expanding into Japan. We recently had a contract with Okinawa TV, the local broadcasting company in Japan. But also, their increasing interest is also growing in the Middle Eastern markets because they're like recently trying to invest a lot in technology aspects as well. So we're expecting a lot of global expansion just in this field. So
mm.
I say it's very promising and interesting to, um, yeah, keep an eye on how many broadcasting companies actually started using avatars.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that brings up like so many questions about 5, 10 years from now. There might be like just primetime shows would be humans, and then everything else is done by these avatars. Um, Maybe one more question, and then I definitely want to focus on like the future of things, and that's always my favorite part of the discussions. But so I've brought on a couple other companies that focus on helping other companies integrate AI systems, whether it's generative or otherwise. And the kind of consensus that I'm getting from listening to all these conversations or having these conversations is definitely connected to this point of the financial savings that these businesses get. And it just seems to me like companies that aren't adopting and implementing certain AI solutions are going to be left behind. They're still going to be working with, the traditional methods of, creating promotional material in this instance for newsrooms. and it's going to be cost prohibitive compared to the competitors that are using these AI tools. Like, I don't know if you have any data on like the amount of money saved, but I can imagine in a large newsroom, it's over the course of a year or something like that, it might be in the millions of dollars, right? If you have a whole production team and um, you need to get in different kind of video equipment and all this sort of stuff just for the promotional materials, you might be able to cut down on those things and just use these AI avatars to save time, money, space, all these sorts of things. So it really seems like there's a lot of financial incentive to go this route.
I have to agree with the consensus that you guys have. And financially, just to touch base on it, I fortunately don't have the exact number of the savings each company is
Mm,
bringing into the market, but we do say that if we do the manual calculation, we can cut up to 80 to 90% of the existing video production cost. Because if you think about the number, and again, this is not just individual videos, it's a production that's producing news contents. It's a bigger team, more people, more facility equipment. So if you think about that, it's a drastic saving financially. So that is one thing. But back to the consensus part. Unfortunately, I will have to agree. And I do have one case I did wanted to share. Uh, is the multilingual capabilities. And
right.
we really think this is a game changer. And one of the most exciting aspects of our AI avatars are their multilingual translation capabilities. This basically allows news anchors to deliver content in multiple languages, even if they don't speak those languages. With AI driven translation services, avatars can generate realistic speech in, like, let's say, over 100 languages, making it easier for the newsrooms to reach diverse global audience. For instance, English speaking anchor can now have their avatars deliver the same report in Spanish, Mandarin, French. Like, I'm currently living in California right now, and like, think about the languages that's spoken in California. The prime content creation can be done in English, basically, but um, think of it being regenerated, like with the avatar. Same script, but automatically translated, and using the avatars will deliver Spanish, Chinese. Like that basically, I think, is a big loss if you don't imply these technologies. Like if say you're competing in the same market and let's say one company does this and the other doesn't,
Mhm.
um, the reach that you will get just within California population,
Right.
it's different, right? So I
Yeah. Yeah.
it shows this very clear. I think it's pretty loud and clear.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, I think there was an advertisement several years ago where there was a famous soccer player that said something in an ad, and then that ad was just redone multiple times, and he was just speaking different languages, like clearly not the language that he's, fluent in. And it worked reasonably well, right? It didn't look like it was subbed or dubbed in this case. It looked like his lips were moving in sync with the words. So if this is going to be happening for like journalism and many different other industries, because it's not just going to be newsrooms that are going to be impacted by this. Yeah, it's a very interesting future that we're moving into with regards to this. But I guess that kind of begs the question, and I know that this is a bit of a segue into the other thing that you guys are launching reasonably soon is so again, going back to this, the good example of this Kim avatar, you have it labeled as an AI Kim avatar. But as I mean, the technology is here today, but as it's going to improve over time, maybe it's 50-50 now, but give it a couple of years and 0% of people would be able to tell that it's an AI avatar. So if people want to say only get their news from humans, right? If there's going to be a bit of a backlash against all this AI stuff, which happens with every technology, um, how are people going to know in the future whether they're getting their news or whatever else from a human versus an AI avatar?
Um, First of all, I would like to say that the technology that we have here, we call it video synthesis, is sort of different from deepfake technology. Deepfake
Sure.
technology is distorting an existing video. So, excuse me for my language, but that's technically how it's done. It's
Sure.
changing an existing video to deliver different content, whereas generative AI and video synthesis basically creating a new content. So I think that's the biggest differentiator between two technologies. And because we create AI avatars and with scripts, we generate new videos, people tend to confuse us a lot with deepfake technologies.
Sure.
I'm not saying that we don't use deepfake at all because, like in custom avatars, to generate a personalized avatars, we do manage to use a part of the deepfake technology to mimic the individuals. But basically, because of this rising questions, like when we're in an interview, everyone kind of asks, "So is that deepfake?" Like that was one of the questions that we get a lot, and we always try to have to explain, no, it's how different, why different, and then because we got so many of these questions, we decided we do know the technology, we're experts in this. Why don't we just bring up a solution and as like take the responsibility of providing a solution that will benefit mass people. And that's one of the reasons we delivered the deepfake detector that's going to be, well, the first version is already out where you mass upload the sequels of videos and the deepfake detector inspects the video, gives you the results. But within a week or two, we'll be launching a video detector, a deepfake detector where we have a targeted audience. Let's say, Mark, we're going to try to track you and on the web, monitor whether deepfake content is being created using Mark. And we'll be going through platforms and monitoring it. It will be 24/7, basically once every day or more. You want, you can apply more, but crawling through the web, trying to create contents, and it will alarm you. So we can't prevent it being created because there are people with bad intentions creating stuff. It's hard to prevent, but we can actively monitor and react quickly, react in advance. That was the intention of creating this software. And to far fetch a little bit, we also tried to implement an opinion section, meaning after censoring the videos, we indicate if this is a good influence or a bad influence to you, which basically will let you know the general opinion. That's an additional feature that we will be releasing together. So, um, again, I kind of mumbled, but basically the reason that we did launch this is, again, to because people ask us that question and we are the experts in it. It was like, yeah, we will give a method to the people to distinguish if this is AI created or not. Back to the journalism part, we didn't have any regulations or anything to indicate if it's an AI, but we wanted to because
Mm.
we don't want to like manipulate people with telling them that what's not is that. So I think it's a smart start. Tech companies like us trying to deliver new stuff into the market gets lots of um, negative questions as well.
Sure.
And with that, we considered that as feedback. And we also thought of how to counter offer this negative impact that we're getting to create a positive turnaround. And that was the deepfake detection solution.
Yeah, no, it's certainly something that's come up on the podcast a couple times. Like we talked about deep fakes and synthesized videos and content for a number of episodes in the past like year or so. Um, One of the things that came out of those discussions is, like it sounds like your technology is already fantastic. As your competitors and as it becomes democratized and easier and cheaper, one of the ideas that came about in these discussions that I had was that it's going to be pretty, maybe not easy, but it'll be certainly uh, more available for more people to create their own kind of avatars and populate the internet with this deep fake or fake content. I don't know the right jargon here, but and the ultimate future point that many of these people were saying was that there's just going to be an erosion of trust of everything that you can see online. Now, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait to see like how much content there is in the next coming years, but like your deepfake detector, I think is essential in all this. My concern is not really my concern, it's me parroting what I've heard from these other people, like, your competitors and things like that, is that there just might be so much deep fake or fake content out there that you can have, 100 of these deep fake detectors, but because there's going to be so much, they won't be able to take care of all of the detecting that needs to happen. I don't know if you have something to quell those fears, because it's not just me. I know that there's many people listening to the podcast might be thinking along the same lines.
Of course. And each new technology, when it's evolving, there are always counter, like negative
Mm.
aspects to it. And I think deepfake is, when we use deepfake in the proper way, it's a very nice way to create content um, efficiently.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's being misused in many occasions. And um, it's just going to be very hard to prevent. So, company like us, where we have human-like avatars, um, we put extra measures on how the avatars are being used, and especially personal avatars and the B2B avatar, the studio avatars, are secure within each account and that account only. And that's one of the key things that we try to like double, triple check, because it's facial identity is a lot for us. It's our one of our core stuff. So maintaining what we already have and like cybersecurity at everything, that's a focus that we have. But on the other hand, I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's hard to prevent, but at least if we monitor them, it will prevent it causing serious issues. I think that's a step where we're trying to go to. And as time goes by, this negative impacts will decrease. People are doing this awful things, harmful things. Let me rephrase that, just for fun.
Sure.
And this small entertainment actions are hurting people. And it's just because they're less understanding of what the impact is, what the new technology is doing. So with this preventive measures that we're trying to deliver, as long as what our competitors doing are pretty much the same thing. We're trying to
Mm.
prevent, or at least try to prevent a big issue. Um, but on the other hand, I'm pretty sure the users will understand the impacts that they will cause. And um, like every technology, it will be stable in a short period of time, is what I hope.
Yeah. What one use case that I can really see these deepfake detection tools to be utilized in, I'm sure that you're familiar. Now, I can't remember the exact name of the company, but there was a CFO a deepfake of a CFO that was utilized in order to scam a larger company of, I can't remember the exact number, 25 million, 35 million, 50 million, something like that. And it was quite the headline for a couple of weeks. And I've used that example in some speeches and when talking to clients and things like that. I can definitely see some larger corporations buying, your deepfake detector technology and implementing that in like all their Zoom calls or their Microsoft uh, meet calls in order to detect whether the CFO, for instance, that you're talking to is the real CFO or if it's a deep fake, to avoid those kinds of early scams, and I'm sure that's not the only example. It's the main example that people have heard about on the podcast before, but I'm sure that that will be definitely utilized in the future.
I do want to emphasize one thing, like, because we're talking about defect detection, people think about big corporations, celebrities, politicians, like, especially the election part, all sort of that. But interesting enough, those cause big impact, but smaller cases, like over 70% of the incidents are underage abusements,
Oh,
which is, it's very hard. It definitely should be monitored. And like, that's one of the reasons we think it is important. Corporations and celebrities, politicians, they know how to save themselves. Like, of course, our solution will help them greatly as well. But um, the actual ethical responsibility that we see and um, what we focus is we want to cooperate with schools, like
mm,
small smaller districts, like counties, where each neighborhood is fragile of such cases, and there's not much of a measure. And um, we see this many cases. Um, I would just like to say we're ready to help. We're trying to find ways to help, and that's one big social impact where we should not neglect and stand up for.
John, I see our time is pretty much up here. I think that that is a uh, perfect place to end a conversation on. I wasn't aware that that was like, making up 70% of the use or the misuse of these deepfakes. I think I'll have to have you back on again to maybe discuss that a little bit further in depth. But I think it can be quite a heavy discussion, and I think that this is a really good um, summary or conversation that brings back these ideas of deepfakes and synthetic video and everything like that. So I definitely want to thank you for your time coming on today and sharing your insights. I wish you all the best of luck with the deepfake detection launch in the next couple weeks. And I'll have the DeepBrain AI website, which is deepbrain.io, up on the show notes. I'll have your like LinkedIn profile up on the show notes as well. Are there any other places that you want people to check out what you guys are up to, follow what you're up to, or reach out to you?
Homepage, LinkedIn sounds good. Along with that deepfake launch, we're also launching new updated versions of our AI studios. So keep an eye on it. I think technology wise, improvement is necessary. And
Mhm.
that's all we're working towards, creating better technology, delivering better stuff, efficient usage, synthesis timing, like everything. So DeepBrain AI is up for it, working towards it. So keep an eye on us. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And thank you so much, Mark, for having us today. So it was
Absolute
wonderful
pleasure.
talking to you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening to this week's Future Tech and Foresight podcast. If you like what you've heard here, there are, of course, a number of ways that you can support the podcast. The best way would be to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or give a rating on Spotify, which you can find a step-by-step explanation for on the futuretechandforesight.com website. Alternatively, feel free to leave a comment either on the episode show notes or the YouTube channel where you can see video recordings of the interviews. And finally, if you are part of an organization that is aware of the disruptive and transformational impact that emerging and future technologies will bring and want to know more, please get in touch to hear about the strategic foresight services that we offer and how we can help future-proof your organization and take advantage of the phenomenal opportunities available to survive and thrive in the future.